I got Nora. I have, okay, I have Olivia. I have Mary. Hi, Sarah. I have Olivia. I have, there's Anna and Steven. Hi, Anna. Hi, Steven. Measles. China was like, hey, guys. Can barely see. My goodness. I feel like I need, like, you guys are young, but you know when old people have to get the glasses to see close? Think it might be that time, guys. It's terrible. It's totally terrible. Bella. Hi, Bella. Miss you, love you. Tell your mom and dad hello. And your grandma and grandpa hello. So cute. Good to see you. I heard Ollie saw you riding your bike. Passing by. Hi, Sienna. Hello, Shay. Hello, Danny. Hello, Quinn. Hello. Oh my goodness. Hello, everybody. Bella, you're so cute. It's good to see you. Even though you see me, but I can't see you. But I know you're there. I can envision you. All right, guys. This is so fun. So we're gonna start creating some art today. But I don't know if anyone did the poll. But what do you guys think about art on Friday? I was planning to do it because I do Wednesday and Fridays. However, I know that we have like a teacher institute day, and so we actually technically don't have school on Friday. Hello, Ella. Hello, Michael. But if you want to have art, can you kind of post? Hi, Nathan. Can you post and say, yes, I want to have art on Friday if you're interested? Because I, of course, will still do it. Hello, Matthew. Hello, Peter. Welcome. Art on Friday. Oh, someone's saying art on Friday. We'll do it. We'll do it. That's just one person. I haven't had that many people say it yet. Oh, there's another person said. Sienna, tell your dad I also said hello. Tell him thank you from refraining from all his, what he thinks is humor. Tell him that. Is he there? Love you guys. Okay, so today what we're going to do is we're going to work with line and one of the elements of art, one of the 7 elements of art. And we're going to first start by creating something like this with just lines and shape. We're going to run off the edge. You can overlap if you like. I did not overlap. I did incorporate pattern, which we will do. Oh, there's another person who wants art on Friday. We're doing it. We're doing it, people. It's done. No poll necessary. No, there's a poll, and 81% said yes. Oh, you know what's so funny? Thank you, Caroline. I love you for that. You're so funny. You remember when I didn't know how to spell chameleon, and you went up and you were like, totally erased my board. You're like, C-A. I'm like, oh, the H. Chameleon. I'm a terrible speller. But Caroline is not. She's like a genius of sorts, if you will. However, we are going to kind of do line, pattern. I'm going to show what's going on. And then we're going to, here's another one actually in line. I did a few examples just so I had some things to paint that were already ready to go. So here's another one. All just line and running off the edge. I'm going to show you how to do all this. And then we're going to add either with marker, crayon, watercolor, whatever you have to add color. I know not everyone has all the same materials, but this is what we will add the color and kind of blend in this beautiful kind of blending way. Even with crayons, you honestly still can blend. So anyway, or overlap that almost appears like a blending. So we're going to do something like this. And I am going to show you too, if you want to, you can do this with any art, but I just made a cute little journal, especially during this time where we have time to journal or a sketchbook. And I'm going to show you how I took my artwork and you can either hole punch it, I'll show you both, but I actually just stapled on the binding on the seam. And I made a fun, cute little journal type sketchbook that you can draw, write, whatever you like to do. Here's both sides. And I'm going to show you that you can also create something like this with your artwork. So it's not just necessarily art that hangs on the wall, but it's also functional. Functional. Everyone say functional. Functional. Functional art means that it has another purpose. It doesn't just sit in a frame. So a lot of times we think of things like jewelry, pottery, things that can have another purpose, not just in a frame being beautiful in a museum, but something that might have another utilitarian purpose. And in this case, if we turn our artwork into a sketchbook or a journal, you can see that it is not just beautiful art, which it is, beautiful masterpiece, but you can also turn this into something that you can use for other purposes, which you can do with any art, but I'm just going to show you that today just for fun. Okay, and I'm also sticking with, like I have tried to, for the most part, stick with this, things that you have at home. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to get started. And first I'm going to read a couple more posts just so I can see what's going on. Some new people joining, welcome. Good to see everybody. I miss you guys so much. So fun to see you. But I'm going to turn the camera and we'll get started. If you want to start in a pencil, that's totally fine. I'm going to use marker, of course, so that you can see, because when I use pencil, you can't see what I'm doing. So I'm going to go straight out. I'm going to start right out the gates. I'm going to start with marker. But if you want to do it in pencil first, I know some of you are perfectionists like myself. And that's okay. But nothing's ever perfect. So don't worry about what you're doing. Just create with us. Have fun. Have a good time. That's me, Ella. Hi, Ella. I miss you. Ella's such an artsy. Love that about her. All you guys. This is so fun. Thank you all so much, first of all, for always joining and doing art with me. Thank you for saying that you want to do art on Friday. That makes, my heart sing and cry. I love it. In the happiest way. So right now I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to turn the camera so all of you know, be careful. Close your eyes if necessary. I'm going to go ahead and turn it this way. I'm going to be very careful because you guys know how I am. I have had incidents. Someone's waving with a heart. Hi, whoever is waving with a heart. Hello to you. So fun. All right, after this, I'm not going to be able to see your posts. But remember, if you need to go back, it's archived on Instagram. This lesson will be archived on Instagram for the next 24 hours. And after that, of course, I post it on YouTube at Art Class with Ms.A, same thing. And you can easily go back and check out what's happening, all that kind of good stuff. Okay. So right now I just have a plain old white sheet of paper, same as probably you do. If you don't have white, if you have a light colored, you can use that too. But if you have a dark colored piece of paper and that's all you have, you're going to probably need something to do the same lesson. You'll need like chalk or chalk pastels or oil pastels, something that would, even construction paper crayons. Some of you might have that. But you need something that would show up on dark paper. Mostly people will definitely have a piece of like white computer printer paper or construction paper. So that's what I've tried to stick with. Okay, so the first thing is you have your piece of paper. And once I start, you are more than welcome to start with me. Because I have to add the color. Remember, we'll start out with something like this, where we have only black and white. If you want to draw in pencil first, that's fine, and then go over with the black marker. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead right into the black marker, but we will be adding color later. And if you're using watercolor or any kind of paint like that, you definitely probably want to have a permanent marker for your lines that we'll start with. If you don't have a black permanent marker, but you have a blue or a green or red permanent marker, whatever color you may have, you definitely can start with that. The reason we don't want to use a water-based marker for this, which would be like your regular Crayola kind of Mr. Sketch, whatever kind of regular marker you may have, those would bleed, and you can definitely use that to add the color today. But if you're adding water, it can bleed. And if you look, I even like, you gotta get real close to see it. You can barely see it actually on the camera, but in person, I can see I did like go a little bit out of the lines with my colors. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Like, just do the best you can do. And I'm sure it's going to be beautiful. And as I've told you so many times, you guys all know, sometimes things that were mistakes turn out to be the best thing that you've ever created in your life. So, who knows? Go with it, people. And you know what? If you don't like it in the end, do it again. What else we got going on, people? Let's do it again. Okay, so I'm going to grab a marker. And we're going to start with line. So line is one of the 7 elements of art. There's line, shape, color, value, form, and texture. So line, as we know, is 2 dots that connect, create a line. So I'm going to do some things that even run off the edge. So what I want to do is I'm going to start right now, but I also want to tell you, now you don't have to do this, but I was also rounding all of my edges. Okay, and I'll show you about the weight, like thicker and thinner lines. Again, we'll review on that. But all of my lines that I did had kind of a rounded edge, okay? And it doesn't mean it's an organic shape, because organic is more like natural, man-made, not mathematical. And geometric shapes are more like triangles, rectangles, squares, even a circle, any kind, even with a rounded edge, any kind of shape that can be measured or is mathematical. Today, we're just kind of creating fun shapes with a rounded edge. It does not have to be something that can be measured or mathematical, okay? Here we go. Hello, I'm reading some more. I'm reading a little bit more. Got lots of hearts. I love that. Thank you. Love you guys too. Miss you. Love you. There's Sophia. Hi, Sophia. Hola. Hola. That was yesterday, Sophia. That was Cinco de Mayo. Today is 6 de Mayo. All right. Now, here's what we're going to do. Take your piece of paper, and if you have a permanent marker, like I said, start with that. If you don't, you can use a regular marker too. You might have a little bleeding, but who knows? Maybe that's going to be the most beautiful thing you ever saw in your life. So I'm going to kind of make this almost rainbow shape. I'm going to kind of do the same thing, follow those lines. Oops, I'm going to make it a little thinner there. I can always thicken it up later. And maybe color that in, make a nice kind of fat, heavier weighted line. Remember, weight, when we're adding weight to a line, it's just how thick or thin a line is. So by me coloring in this line, you're going to notice, even that, look at that. Hold on, can you see this? Even Ms.A. doesn't do everything exactly how she wants at first, but you can just, fill it in. Doesn't matter. Keep going. Keep going. There's no right or wrong way, guys. I do have some black paper behind this piece just so that you can see my white paper. Otherwise, you don't see it as well. But go ahead right now if you haven't started. And you're going to go ahead and everyone knows running off the edge. Running off the edge. It's really just, I'm sure if you were in class right now, you guys would raise your hand to get a plus. And someone would be like, Ms.A, that means when part of the shape is on the paper and part of it is off the paper. Exactly. If my paper was larger, you may see the rest of this shape. But because my paper is only this size, you're only going to see a portion or a part of this shape. And that's totally what we want to do. That's the effect we're going for. Now, I am going to add a thinner line, and I'm going to go carefully, because that was not careful. That was kind of sloppy. That might be embarrassing, guys. But you know what? Guess what Ms.A is going to do when that happens, because that could happen to any of us, to the best of us, guys. Go back and fix it. Maybe it's going to be a little thicker than I originally thought. Just fix it. No one's going to know what you did. You're the only one who's going to see what you might call as a mistake, unless you point it out. Don't point this stuff out to people. Just be like, look, check this out. Check out what I made today. But do not show them what you might think was a mistake or something, because no one's going to ever notice that. And maybe here I'm going to add an oval. And if it's not perfect, and if you want to, you can be starting in pencil too. Like I said, I started in marker just so that you can see what's happening. And I'm feeling pretty confident about any kind of mistakes that I make, I can pretty much fix, which you can too. But I know a lot of you like to start in pencil first, and that's totally fine. And in fact, if we were in class together, I would probably start all of us in pencil and then trace over those lines with marker and have our beautiful masterpieces created that way. We'd go back with an eraser and get rid of all of our little pencil smudge kind of marks. But right now, we're just going to keep going like that. So I've created a thinner line, a thicker kind of chunkier fat line. Same thing here. Maybe I'm going to do more of a rectangle, but like I said, I want to do some rounded edges. So maybe I'm going to kind of go around like this, almost like a rectangle with these rounded edges instead of a right angle or a straight angle. And what grade is this? I'm reading things. You know, it's funny, Caroline, I don't really know what grade this is. I just kind of have been doing things that I know no matter what age you are, if you are one of my students or if you're a parent, if you're an adult, that you can still join along. So I've been really just focusing on what can everybody do at their own level and what kind of materials. That's the most challenging part, is what materials do you have at home? Because as you know, like I've said so many times, some of you have every stinking art material that's ever existed in your life, which is amazing. Love that about you people. But then there's some of you who, even if you're like art is your favorite thing in the world, you still might not have every single material. And that's okay, because that's what I'm trying to like work with, what we have at home. And that's great. I'm gonna have a little sip of water here. Okay, so I keep going like this. I'm going to add another, maybe a shape, kind of a rounded, long rainbow shape over here, off the edge. And maybe, let's do one more shape. This is going to be a half circle. And I'm going to kind of do another, oops, that was sloppy. Good thing I'm going to make it thicker. If that happens to you and your line's a little janky and you're like, hey, I don't like that so much, just make it thicker. Make it, no one will ever know. Just fill it in and kind of go from there. Do not worry. If you think you messed it up, you do not have to start all over. I'm pretty sure you could just keep going. If you really need to start over, flip your paper over or grab another sheet of paper. That's fine too. I know a lot of you, if we were in class, would be like, Ms.A, I need to start over. And that's fine. If you don't want to, don't. If you do, go for it. Now, once you have at least 5 shapes or part of 5 shapes, which is what I have right now, with a few different weights of line. I have only thin lines here. I have a combination here. I have a combination here. Same, and then this only has a 1, but it's the kind of heavier weight or the chunkier, thicker line, and that's fine, okay? And so what we're going to do now after this is to get to something like this, is we need to create these lines that divide that negative space. So everywhere our shape is, that's positive space. There is something there, it's positive space. All of this empty white blank space, that's negative. Negative space, okay? So now what I want to do is I kind of want to take any kind of line and kind of break up that space. So I'm going to be like, I love how I always have sound effects for my lines. And maybe I'm going to come over here and just like, carefully. Okay, so I'm kind of breaking up that negative space. You see what's happening? So in any kind of line, sure, it could be zigzags and whatever, but I'm kind of sticking with that rounded edge, curved, organic line type feel. So over here, maybe I'm going to come from this side and just go like this. And same thing. Oops, I even went into that line. That's okay. Something like that. So I've broken up, besides drawing the shapes, I have broken up all of that empty white negative space at this point. Okay? Beautiful. Look at this. Now what we need to do before we get to something like this is start adding some of our different designs and patterns, things that are going to go in there, okay? Into our artwork, into our masterpiece. So maybe on this one, now can you switch markers and get a fatter, chunkier marker or a thinner marker? Yes. In fact, let's just do it for fun so you can see what's happening. This marker I have is still a Sharpie, but it is chiseled. Can you see this? See how that angle? Let me zoom out a little. It's angled, okay? So what we're going to do right now is go ahead and I'm going to add almost like these small little kind of sun ray little lines. So go ahead, if you are as far as me, if I'm going too fast, take your time. You know how that I need to keep going just because of time. You can always go back and rewatch what's happening. And I'm just slowly adding different patterns. Maybe I want to add a dashed kind of dotted line, not dotted, but broken line. I guess you call it a broken line. And maybe you can keep going, adding this. And I'm going to just kind of go around. Excuse me. Okay. So I have that going. Here I'm going to add it inside. As this cool kind of dashed line inside. So go ahead and you're just kind of adding these embellishments on your artwork, on your masterpiece. Do the same thing. Now I have to add color inside of it. So, like this one, I'm going to add color. I'm going to take a cough drop so I'm not sitting here coughing like a crazy lady. And while you're going around, you can just simply add these lines. Because when you add the color, it's going to be on the inside. Oh my goodness. Not cool, people. So we want to have the inside a complete section where we can add color. All of our lines and extra embellishments and designs and patterns are going to be on the outside of our major shape, just like I'm doing here. So let me read some comments. This is going on. Like I said, I think you guys are just having separate conversations. Hopefully you're still creating with me. I got lots of hearts again. I also am sending, if I could hit my button, I would send lots of hearts to you too. I'm going to take the side of my chiseled marker and create a heavier weighted kind of dashed line. Almost like you might see in the middle of a road or a street. Now I feel like my balance of my paper, balance, remember, is like how much is over here compared to over here. If you look close at this, I have a nice balance here. I'm starting to get some heavier weights over here, but this side is still pretty, I don't want to say boring, but kind of boring. Okay, it doesn't have all the weight. So over here, maybe I'm going to go around and I'm going to do a dash on the outside. Keep going, going, going. Rotate your paper around. If you drew in pencil first, you might have started covering with marker. Do not forget, before you actually paint in a few minutes here, or add marker or color, however you're going to add color, don't forget to take an eraser and erase any pencil lines so that you have a nice clean palette to start adding your color. Okay, now this is pretty good. I might want to take one of these and take my side of the chiseled marker and even make some of those lines that I created earlier in a heavier weight. So right now what I'm doing is I'm taking a thicker edge of my marker and I'm just going around for interest and aesthetic. I'm gonna go around and add some heavier weights to my line. Remember, everyone say aesthetics. Aesthetics! You guys know in my class, when I ask you what was the aesthetics of that, or if we're learning about aesthetics, you'll raise your hand and I move my little wheel and you guys get extra points for mentioning and knowing, hey, we're doing aesthetics right now. And aesthetics, fancy word, people. But it's a great term, and it really is just like what makes art, okay? So we're going to include things like line, shape, texture, weight. All of this kind of stuff is what aesthetics are. It's all the parts of art, or all the elements of art and the principles of design. And when you put them together in this composition, how you lay out all your parts, your composition, how you take over your space, how you overlap, all of those fun things that we do in art, those are all part of the aesthetics. It's what makes art, okay? Things that make things beautiful, basically. Okay, so here's one right now. Now, we still need to add, if you look at my other examples, that even, they don't have color yet, but you can see after I divided up my negative space and my background, I did start adding kind of fun little patterns around in some areas. Some I left blank, just white, but some I did fill in. So we're going to do that next, okay? And what I did first, this is another example of how I added, just in some areas, I added just lines, dots, dashes, nothing fancy, just like cool little things. But honestly, if you just add those little things, those little elements, it's going to create, your masterpiece is just going to be outstanding. Your aesthetics are going to be like, hello, people, look at that. I mean, look how fun that is. Okay. So I'm very close to that point right now, but I am going to take a marker, any one you want. You can take a thinner one, thicker one, whatever you got going. This time I'm going to go back to a thinner kind of marker. I am still using permanent marker right now because I am going to add paint. If you don't have a permanent marker, like I said before, do not worry. You can use any kind of marker, really. This is just, what I'm using right now. And because I'm going to add watercolor later, it's better for the fact that it's not going to bleed and that black isn't going to spread when I add the water, because it's not a water-based marker. Now, in this section right here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to start doing almost like a dashed random, fun random kind of dash. There's no rhyme or reason to this. I'm just kind of having fun. But I am going in the same direction, and I'm going to fill in this entire space with these kind of dashed, dotted lines. So I'm going to keep going in that entire negative space around that little rainbow shape. There we go. So now I've added some of that texture. Let's do it in another spot too. So right around here I have a great spot. Let's not do it in the same direction. This time I did it that way. Do I want to do the same thing? I could. But you know what I'm going to do instead? I'm going to actually add, I am going to do it this way, but I'm going to add these kind of vertical lines. Could you use a ruler if you wanted? Of course. Yes, you can. Can you use an edge of another piece of paper or part of a cereal box as an edge? Yes. Does it have to be perfect? Of course not. Just keep going. There's no right or wrong reason with this. So this is going to be kind of a fun, abstract piece of work. And abstract, I'm going to say abstract. Remember, abstract is not realistic. It doesn't look real. It's usually created with lines, shapes, and colors. Abstract stuff does not, when we say realistic, that means it looks like a photograph. It looks like actually real. We don't know that this is anything in particular. You could say this was a city if you wanted. I was actually kind of thinking it looked like when you're looking under a microscope or something at these fun kind of, maybe bacteria or whatever's happening. But that's what it kind of reminded me of. It could be anything to you, but like I was just kind of thinking of like different fun scientific under a microscope, but like enlarged shapes and fun kind of organisms. So as you're going, you will start filling in all of these different kinds of shapes. Okay? And you can keep going. I might leave this section white, but I might start adding like in here. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but maybe I'm going to add something like this, where you just kind of add line, dot, line. No rhyme or reason. You're just kind of having fun with it. And you see, I might fill in the rest of that space with that kind of fun pattern. However you want to do it. Totally up to you. Now, we still need to add color. So you probably might not be as far as me. Oh, I see someone said that. Oh, a few people, abstract. I love that. Love you guys. Love abstract too. But what you're going to do next is you're going to have to add this kind of color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some fun ways to add color. So I'm going to take one right here. I could do the one I was working on, but I wasn't really finished. So I'm going to go ahead and take one of the ones where I felt like my black and white is exactly how I would want it. I have enough balance, meaning equal parts. I have different weight. So I have thicker, chunkier lines. I have thinner lines. I also have patterns in some of my negative space. And then I also have some empty space, which also helps create my balance. Okay? Now I'm going to add some color. If you are not this far, do not worry. Now the first thing is for those of you who don't have watercolor. I did say to have watercolor today. Obviously, I know some of you don't have watercolor. If you don't, this is maybe how you want to do it. Of course, could you add crayon? Yes. Could you, if you have oil pastel or chalk pastels? Yes. Of course, you can use any of those things. But I am going to show you just if you wanted to add color and you had color marker, but did not have watercolors, how you can kind of create that watercolor effect. So you might take in a section just a plain old regular water-based marker. This is not a permanent marker. This is water-based, meaning that there's pigment and water. Okay, and that's how you're getting the color. Remember, pigment is the color. So let's just say I went around the edge of this circle with my marker. Could I color the whole thing with marker, make it ombre? I know you guys love ombre. You're always like, it's so satisfying. But if I just did just that purple section in one of my shapes, and I took a paintbrush with some water, and that was a water-based marker, excuse me, I can go ahead and slowly start to add some water to it. I can even go ahead and put my marker back in it to kind of create this effect. And I might even add a different shade, maybe not even purple, maybe I'm going to add some blue. Okay, I'm going to add some blue in there. And then take my paintbrush again. And what's cool is it does start to bleed and spread that color, which is going to give you a beautiful kind of watercolor effect, but without watercolor. So you can still get a cool effect and a cool appearance or aesthetic without actually having all the materials that some of us may have. Now, I guess I'll keep my black paper. I almost don't want to keep my black paper because of the watercolor, but I'll do it just so you can see. The reason I said that with the black is it is true if you get water like I did on my black paper. See, I don't know if you can see that. Kind of, you can. It will bleed. So if you're on like your kitchen island or something, make sure you have something underneath you. I'm obviously in my art room and it's my creation station. So everything goes here. But if not, make sure that you have something underneath so that you're not like bleeding construction paper or something. Now I'm going to use, you can use regular watercolors just like this, these cake watercolors. We've kind of talked about the difference before, of course. But I'm going to actually use some liquid watercolors that I already have. Remember, as I've shown you so many times, don't forget you can make your own watercolor by just sticking an old marker or the felt tips into some water in a jar or a glass, and you're going to create watercolor that way, liquid, or food coloring with water. You can also create your own liquid watercolor, or just go ahead and use these cakes. That's going to be great as well. Oh my goodness, I'm seeing right here, I've apparently sprayed my little watercolor pump so many times that can you see that? You can't see it, but I have a lot of overspray over there, guys. And so I have, of course, already a bunch of pre-made liquid watercolors. And I have these little cups. I have no idea where I got these from, but, you know, I like art teachers. Anytime someone's like, I have something for you, we're like, I'll take it. I don't even know what we're going to do with it half the time, but we still take it. So you can do that. And I'm going to use some liquid ones. Whatever you have going on, doesn't matter. Regular watercolor, marker with paint, or water, excuse me. Whatever you have going on. What color is this? Brown. Sorry, brown. Brown, so like, I feel bad saying this about colors, but brown's pretty boring, right, guys? Let's take a poll on that. Brown. Not to mention, you can make brown yourself. Every time you mix basically 3 colors together, you're going to have brown. Okay, so now I'm going to, here, you can also see now, my water really did start spreading. You can really kind of that cool watercolor effect now. Very beautiful. I made a mouth of my own, I'm trying to read stuff and I must have missed something because I have no idea what you guys are talking about. Hopefully you're still creating, and even if you're not and you're just watching and joining us, that's perfectly cool to me. Like, good for you. Good job. I'm glad you're here. I miss you guys, and I'm just glad you're here. So right now we're going to go ahead and take a paintbrush, and whether you're using cake colors or liquid, whatever you have, or markers, or maybe you're just using crayons and pastels, whatever you have is totally fine. But we're going to leave all of that negative space just black and white. We're really only going to be coloring in the positive shapes, the positive space, which are those fun shapes. So that's what we're going to do right now. And you may have noticed I kind of did almost ombre kind of fun things. That was just for fun. You can do it however you want. Maybe you want to have all monotone, meaning different shades of one color. Maybe they're all blues, but all different shades of blue. Maybe you're doing all cool colors. Maybe you're doing all warm colors. Whatever your color scheme, remember, color scheme are all the colors that you put together in your piece of art. Whatever your color scheme may be, that's amazing. Like, go for it. Make a few of them. Anything you like. Now I'm going to take a little bit of watercolor, and I'm going to start adding some color in. Now, there's different ways. Even with the cakes or the liquids, you can go right onto your paper like this. You can also do it where you add just water. I'm going to add a little water. And then I'm going to add my pigment or my color. And you're going to see it spreads. Oh my goodness. Gorgeous. Gorgeous how that spreads. Now, do I want to use another color? Yes. I'm going to go for yellow. Yellow and pink, what is that going to make? You guys can probably see it. I'm starting to almost create an orange because yellow and red would be primary colors. And if you mix yellow and red, you make a what kind of color, guys? Somebody say it. Somebody better know. Hi, Rosie. Love you. Miss you. But if you add the yellow to red, you would get orange. That would be a secondary color because when you mix 2 primary colors together, you make a secondary color, and orange is a secondary color. Now, pink is not a primary color, but pink is a tint of red. So tint is when you add white to a color. So if I had red and I added a little white to it, I would get a pink. Most of you know that. And so because of that, if I add yellow to pink, because it is a tint of red, it's a tint of one of our primary colors, I'm going to get an orange. Can you see that? It's a little difficult when it's wet. It's not as vibrant. It will dry more vibrant, but you kind of get the idea. I added yellow. Let me do a little bit more. Get some more yellow in there. And can you go back later once it dries and add more color or a second layer? Of course you can. Yes, of course you can. Now, that's just one. So I'm going to go. Now I have the one I did with marker and a paintbrush. See that? Beautiful. Here's one that I did with liquid watercolor. Gorgeous. And I'm going to keep going. Just for those of you who are using your standard kind of cake watercolors, let's do one with that just so you can see what's happening. Same kind of thing. This time I'm going to add this light kind of lime chartreusey kind of green. I'm going to really get in there to get the nice color that I want, get the pigment. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to try to stay in the lines. Does it matter if you go out of the lines? Of course not. It does not matter. Maybe you just end up painting the whole thing in color. That's fine. And because I have the lighter green, I'm going to start adding this darker green on top. I'm going to add a little bit more of that lighter green to create kind of a blended color. And it almost, I guess, you know what, it almost appears to be all the same. But I guess when you look closer, you can see the different values. The lightness value means the lightness and darkness of an object, okay? So just depending what shades or tints or what you're doing, you can add that. Could I add a little yellow? Let me add a little yellow on there and make it a little bit more yellowy green. Yes, you definitely can, okay? So I'm going to keep going. Now, I have a couple more shapes that I want to add some color to. I definitely want to leave most of my negative space in that black and white, but I still have here that I probably would add something in here. Now, I'm going to stop for a second because I actually feel like in here I would love to have another pattern because I'm going to add color here. But what about this empty negative space? I think what I'm going to do is take my marker and actually, where's my other marker? Oh, here you go. Here you are. Here you are, little buddy. And I'm going to go ahead and create just a fun kind of dashed lines, these kind of horizontal lines. Well, they're going to turn vertical right here. Now it's vertical. Vertical, remember, is up and down. Horizontal is side to side, left to right. And I'm going to do, even here, I got a diagonal line. Diagonal, remember, is on a, does this even show right? A slant. Side and a slant. Okay. So I'm going to add all these kinds of fun lines. I did that to add just a little bit more to my aesthetic, to my composition. But it's really because I'm only going to color this area. And I wanted to have a little more fun or detail with what was going on in that negative space. So I'm going to put my marker away. So basically, if you find an area that you're like, you know what, that would look cool with this, you can stop painting for a second and add some more. Now, if I'm going ahead and go do that, I'm going to add some color now. So let's say, let's go back to my liquid watercolors. I tap my brush out. Don't forget when you kind of rinse your brush to always kind of do a little tappa, 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 just so that you can clean off your brush and you have a nice clean brush when you go into a new color. This time, I'm going to go ahead and mix some fun stuff. So I'm going to do, where's all my fun little cups? I'm going to take a little of this fun magenta. I'm going to go into this. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit of water so that I can add a wash later with my other colors. So that's just water that I'm adding there. But when I add some of my color, I'm going to add a little of this green kind of color. Spread that out. I'm going to go into my water. I'm going to add a little, what is this, like kind of a blue? I like it. I don't care for the fact that there's such a big difference of those two colors. So what I might do is go back between them with a little more magenta and kind of overlap the colors so it's not as obvious of a switch of color, just the big old switcheroo. And there you go. So now I kind of added this pretty kind of ombre of cool colors. And I still have one more shape that I would definitely like to add color to. So what have I not used? Let's go for a little red. Do a little red. Add that, and then maybe a little yellow. Red and yellow is going to make what color, guys? Orange. Look how pretty. Gorgeous. Okay, now what about here? Do I want to add a little more of that hot pink? Sure, why not? Go for it. You can add extra colors. You can add a second layer. If your color isn't as vibrant or as noticeable as you'd like it to be, once it's dried a little, go ahead and add more color onto it. Why not? Why not, girl? Or in some of your cases, why not, boy? Okay, so here we go. Now here, I feel like I like that, but I might even add, I'm not even kidding right now, guys. I'm going to add a little more of a kind of deeper green over here, like a teal kind of color. And I'm going to kind of blend that. And then a little more yellow. Remember, like that yellow and blue are going to make a green. Those are, yellow and blue are also two primary colors. When mixed, make one secondary, which would be green. So what are our primary colors? Let's see some answers here, people. What are the three primary colors? Everybody better know this. Every hand is up right now. What are they? Correct. Red, yellow, and blue. Now, those three colors make every other color in the entire world in some kind of combination, which is, if you really think about it, pretty far out. It's pretty cool. There's three colors that make every single color you've ever seen in the entire world come from just those three colors, red, yellow, blue. Now, if you mix two of those colors, you're going to get a secondary. You're going to either get orange, red and yellow make orange. Yellow and blue, of course, make green. And red and blue, of course, are going to make purple. So orange, green, and purple are your three secondary colors. Now, there is something called tertiary. I'm going to get rid of this paper behind me just because I can see it's starting to bleed through. Do you see that from my black paper? I'm going to remove my black paper, but you're still going to be able to see what I'm doing. Whoosh. Goodbye, paper. And if you mix one primary and one secondary, you're going to get what they call a tertiary. Everyone say it. Tertiary. Tertiary is like a third color. Tertiary, like three. So if you mix a red and an orange, you have red-orange. That is a tertiary color. If you mix a blue and a green, you have a blue-green, which is also technically like a teal or a turquoise. You're going to have a tertiary color. So you have the primary colors, your secondary, and tertiary. So really try to kind of fool around with color, experiment, have a good time, and see what kind of colors, what style of colors, whether it's primary, secondary, or tertiary, that you may do on purpose or that you may just create on accident, and it's just your own kind of experimental art project. Now, you need to let this dry. After you're done and you have this all ready to go and it's drying, I'm going to fast forward by the magic of television. There you go. I'm going to take one that's already dry. Now, we want to go ahead and make something, if you want to. You do not have to do this. You can leave it and you can frame it or you can hang it up, however you want to do, and it would be a beautiful piece of artwork on its own. But if you want to, with this or any other kind of artwork, you can definitely make something fun like a little journal, especially during this time. It's a great thing. I've been journaling. I actually like to journal with words and art. So I kind of combine them. I'm not sure what you guys do. I know some journals are only writing. That's totally cool too. Some are only art, like a sketchbook. That's fine too. I actually personally, I love writing and I love drawing. So I like to combine them in kind of a fun, collaborative, exciting art extravaganza, if you will. But I like to combine them. So whatever you want to do, however you want to use it later. Maybe you're going to write a book. Maybe it's just a full book and this is your cover. That's fine too. However you want to do it. But this is now what I'm going to show you how to do this. So if you have your artwork and it's dry. Now if it is wrinkly, like see how mine's a little wrinkly, kind of just because the watercolor, when it dries, you know how it kind of gets a little funky. It's not exactly perfectly flat. I don't know if you can see that, but you can kind of see it. You can put a heavy book on top of it and flatten it. You can definitely do that. You can also, with a parent or someone, take another piece of paper on top of it, and on your ironing board with an iron, you can actually iron out your paper so it's nice and flat again. Once it's dry, make sure it's dry. Okay, make sure it's dry. Now, in order to do the kind of sketchbook journal, I'm going to flip my artwork over. So this is the back side. You can see there's the front, there's the back. And then I'm going to take a few sheets of paper, how many ever you want, whatever you want to do. It's totally up to you. Now, you could, I stapled this. So let me open this up. Let me show you. I actually took 3, I don't know if you can really see that, but I took 3 staples. I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute with the stapler. Staple is easiest because it's fast, but you definitely can take, once you fold it, and I show you, you could take a hole punch at that point, maybe do 3 hole punches, take some twine or an old shoestring or some dental floss and tie it and add it that way. However you want to do it is fine. However you like to bind your book is totally cool, people. Okay, so I'm going to lay my paper in there. Now, in this case, my printer paper was actually a little smaller than the paper I did my artwork on. That's fine. If it's the same size, it also works. Just line it up. If you have larger paper like I did, try to balance it out and kind of space it so that you have, not that it has to be perfect, but you know how I am. I like to make it so it's kind of even. One side, other side, top, or I guess it's bottom, top. Okay. Now, I'm going to take this and I'm going to carefully, with my hand, you see how I'm actually holding my hands, holding this in place so that it doesn't move. I really need to do that because I want to make sure that everything kind of stays where I want it. And as you guys know, when we fold stuff, some of you are expert folders. Some of you are like, Ms.A, will you fold it for me? Because you're so nervous. Either way, just make sure it's lined up best you can do at the edge, and then do a nice kind of crease. Do not do that crease until you feel confident about where your fold is. Now, this is perfect, except that those papers are not attached in yet. If you use a hole punch, this is where right now you would go ahead, make sure it's lined up before you do it. In fact, I kind of moved my stuff, so make sure, even if you did something like that, go back before you attach everything and fasten it together, and make sure it's exactly where you want it. Kind of take your time. It's not a rush, okay? You have time. If you wanted to at this point, you could take a hole punch and punch here, here, and here, and add something to fasten. Maybe you have one of those metal brads. I don't even know if you guys know what that is, but your parents probably do. Those little metal brads and the 2 little back parts flip open on the back side. You can use that. If you have a hole punch and you want to use string or twine or whatever you have going on, shoelace, literally dental floss, whatever you have going on that can tie like a thread, you can attach it there. I'm going to show you how to staple. Because most people have a stapler and it's pretty easy. Now, I need to keep my fold, not only this paper, but my top paper in the correct spot. Now, if you see, my stapler does not reach far enough. So what I need to do is I'm going to actually take this, I fold it over just a little. And, oops, I got to make sure my stuff is in the right spot. So I'm going to kind of adjust it in place first. Make sure, I'm going to actually take it out because my stuff was not in place at all. Now, you want to make sure that you are not overlapping enough that you're going to staple the part of the cover of one side or cover of your book. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rotate down a little bit further. And I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do 3 staples. I feel like 3 is good. I'm going right on the seam or right on that fold. Now, I did kind of bend my paper a little. Can I fix that? Of course. But if you notice on the inside, it's stapled through. On the outside, let me see this. Let's see if I can find one that's good that you can see. Yeah, you can kind of, right here, you can see this, right? There you go. There's a staple. Now, I'm just going to fold that in half. And look what I did. Gorgeous. I have a journal or a sketchbook. Now, if it wrinkled, again, you can, of course, put a piece of paper over it. You can iron over it again, or put a heavy book or something heavy on top. And now you've created not only this beautiful masterpiece, piece of art, possibly just something like this, or maybe you made it into a fun sketchbook / journal. There you go. Beautiful. We used lines, composition, watercolor, negative space, positive space. I'm going to go ahead and flip the camera right now. If you're still working, that's totally fine. Don't forget. Hold on, let me make sure you can see me. Hi, guys. There you go.